Hi students, this video teaches how to solve system of equations using elimination. You can follow these steps on the left to solve any system of equation using elimination, and I'm going to show you how to do two different problems. So step one is to line up the equations. That means that we need x first, then y, then the equal sign, and then the constant term, which is the number. If I look at this problem, I notice that it's already in order. It's already lined up. I have x's, then y, then equal, then the numbers. Perfect. Step two, if necessary, is to multiply one or both equations so that the coefficients are -1 and 1, -2 and 2, or -3 and 3, or -4 and 4. Any combination of numbers, they need to be the same number, but one negative and one positive. So let's look at this equation. I'm going to add coefficient of 1 there. And I see that step 2 is already done because I have a +1 and I have a -1. Perfect. So now I'm going to do step 3, which is to add or subtract to get rid of one of the variables. So I'm going to put the line there so I can add my equations. I'm going to add the x terms, then the y terms, and then the constant terms. So if I do 1 minus 1, I get 0x. I don't need to write that down. What I can do is that I can actually cross out the x terms because they canceled out when I added the equations. Now I have -2y minus 3y, which is -5y. We can check in our calculator. We'll write -2 minus 3, and that is -5. And these are y terms, so I have a y equals 14 minus 9, which is 5. Great. So now we just finished step 3. Step 4 is to solve for the remaining variable. The variable that's left is y, so I'm going to solve for y. I'm going to divide both sides by -5. And I have my answer is y equals 5 divided by -5, which is -1. So here is half of my answer. Y equals -1. So step 5 is to substitute our y value into one of the original equations so we can find the other variable, which is going to be x. So let me just erase this stuff I crossed out so I can see the equations. And I'm going to use my first equation. It doesn't really matter which equation you use. I'm just going to pick the first one. So here I have x minus 2y equals 14. Remember, we solved for y. We found out that y equals -1. So I'm going to substitute into y. I have to be very careful that I substitute correctly. X minus 2, parentheses. We always use parentheses to substitute. -1 equals 14. And now I can just solve for x. Put the line. -2 times -1 is a +2. I have x equals 14. I'm going to move the 2 to the other side. And so x is going to equal -2 plus 14. And I can add this, -2 plus 14. So x will equal 12. So my final answer is x equals 12 and y equals -1. Please remember to always check your answer using these steps. We can use the calculator to check our answer. And that's it. This problem is finished. Now I'm going to show you guys how to do another problem. It's a little bit harder because we will need to multiply in order to be able to cancel out the variables. So here is the problem. Step 1, make sure our equations are lined up. I have x's, y's, equal sign, and number. Perfect, the equations are lined up. Now we have to look at the coefficients. I have -2 and 3 for the x coefficients, -2 and 1. I'm going to write a 1 there for the y coefficients. And I won't be able to eliminate any variable because, remember, I need the constants to be the same number, just one negative, one positive. In order to make that happen, I'm going to need to multiply one of the equations, and in some cases it will be both, in order to get rid of one of the variables. If I look at my y variables, I have negative 2 and 1. So I'm going to multiply the second equation by 2 because I know that 2 times 1 will be 2. And then if I do that, it'll allow me to eliminate one of the variables because it will follow the rule for step 2. So I'm going to do 2 times 3x, which is 6x, and 2 times 1y, which is positive 2y, equals, and I do need to multiply the entire equation, so I am going to multiply 2 times 18, which is 36. And I do not need this equation anymore. This is my new equation. And I am now going to write the first equation again. I'm going to write this here. I have negative 2x minus 2y equals negative 8. And I can see that this is going to work out nicely because I have a negative 2 and a positive 2. So I can go ahead and add my equations. Negative 2x plus 6x is 4x. And I know that negative 2 plus 2 is 0, so these cancel out, equals negative 8 plus 36 will be 28. And we can use our calculator to confirm. Plus 36, yep, it is 28. Now I'm going to solve for x, which is step 4. And I divide both sides by 4 to isolate x, and x equals 28 divided by 4, which is 7. So this did take a little bit longer, but I still get my answer. Now I'm going to continue with step 5, which is to substitute into one of the original equations to solve for the other variable. So if I erase all this stuff I crossed out, you can use either one of these equations to substitute. You can use whichever one looks nicer to you. I'm just going to use the first one because it's first, but you guys can use the first or the second. The second one might be better because there are no negatives. Totally up to you. So I'm going to write here negative 2x minus 2y equals negative 8. Just be really careful because in this example, we solved for x. So I'm going to substitute the 7 into x, not y. So please be very careful. If you're solving for x, substitute for x. So here I have negative 2 parentheses 7 minus 2y equals negative 8. I'm going to solve for y. So negative 2 times 7 is negative 14 minus 2y equals negative 8. And the negative 14 I would bring over to the other side. So I have negative 2y equals negative 8. And then plus 14. I have negative 2y equals negative 8 plus 14 is 6. And my last step will be to divide by negative 2. And y equals negative 3. My final answer is x equals 7. Y equals negative 3. And as always, please be sure to check your answers. You must check your answers. Make sure we did not make a mistake. Thank you, and I hope this video is helpful.